Kiss my Yes now, hey.
Hello, good day again. I hope you followed this video from the previous one on factorization that we dealt with the difference between two squares. So now we are on difference between two cubes. So if you haven't watched, you can click there and watch the difference between two squares. That was our first part on factorization. So now we are on difference between two cubes. So also, just like the difference between two squares, we can notice the difference between two cubes by having two terms that are also separated by a negative sign. Two terms separated by a negative sign. And also we can notice this by those terms they'll be having cubes. So 1 multiplied by 1 multiplied by 1 gives us 1. 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2 gives us 8. 3 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 3 gives us 27. 4 by 4 by 4 gives us 6, 4. 5 by 5 by 5 gives us 1, 2, 5. And then 6 by 6 by 6 gives us 2, 1, 6. You can get the idea of what is happening here, right? And also if we're having x multiplied by x multiplied by x, this is x cubed. Y by y by y, this is y cubed. And also if you're having x squared by x squared by x squared, this is x to the power of 6. If you're having y multiplied by y to the power 4 multiplied by y to the power 4, this will be y to the power of 12. And also maybe a to the power of 3 multiplied by a to the power of 3, and so on. That gives us a to the power of 9. So you can see that these are perfect cubes. So also these are perfect cubes. We get their products from a number being cubed. So you can see the idea of what are perfect cubes. So it means that to notice this factorization of difference between two cubes, we notice them by having two terms separated by a negative, as well as you can notice them by the terms being cubed. So the terms will be a product of a number being cubed. So let's see all the tools that you can use to factorize the difference between two cubes. So let's take a look at this difference between two cubes. So the first step is obviously to take out the common factor. So we're going to take out 3 as it is appearing both. So it will be x cubed minus y cubed. And then we check which values are we multiplying here and there to get our perfect cubes. So we can see that in this we are multiplying x 3 times, and also in this we are multiplying y 3 times to get that. So the first value is x and the second value is y. So this is our value and this is our value. So now they said set two sets of brackets, the second one being bigger than the first. So this will be 3, the second bracket being bigger than the first. And then put your values being cubed in the first bracket. So this value that was cubed, we are going to put it in the first bracket, as well as this value that was cubed as well, we are going to put them in the first bracket, like that. And then in the second bracket, it will have 3 terms. So the second bracket will have 3 terms. So how do we get the terms in the second bracket now? So the first term that we are going to get here, we are going to square the first value. So here our value is x, so we are going to square our x, so x squared. And the second value that is going to be in the middle here, we are going to multiply the first value with the second value. So the first value multiplied by the second value, we are going to get xy. And then to get the third value in this bracket, we are going to square the second value. So we are going to square the second value. So this is y squared. And now to get the signs that we are going to put there, we are going to put minus in the first bracket and then plus in the second bracket. And now that is factorized like that. So let's look at more of the examples so that you can see how this is. Let's take a look at these 2 examples before we can do the most complex examples. So on this number 1, we are having 8x cubed minus y to the power of 9. And also again, if you want to try this, you can pause the video and try this before I can give you the solution, right? So let's take a look. Is there any common factors? No, there are no any common factors. But now, which values are multiplying to give us that? So we can see that if we multiply 2x 3 times, we can get that. So it means that our 2x will be our first value. And which values are multiplying 3 times to give us y to the power of 9? Then again, if we multiply y cubed 3 times, we are going to get that. So this is our second value. So now what do we do? Two sets of brackets, the other one being smaller and the other one being bigger, like that. So what do we put on our first bracket? It is the first value and the second value, just like that. So that will be 2x and that will be y cubed. And then in the second bracket, what do we have? In the second bracket, the first term, we square the first value. So we are going to square this. So 2x squared, we are going to get 4x squared. And the second value, they said we multiply the first one and the second one. So we are going to multiply 2x multiplied by y cubed. So this will be 2xy cubed. And then in the last term now, we are squaring the second value. So y cubed squared, it will just give us y to the power of 6. So this will be y to the power of 6. And the signs that we're going to put there, it will just be minus, plus, plus. So that's a minus, a plus, and that's factorized, like that. So on this one as well, we don't have a common factor between the two terms. And now, which values are multiplying to give us this and that? So to get this, we are multiplying 6m. So 6m will be our first value that is multiplying, or that is being cubed to give us that. And our second value to be n. So n cubed will give us n cubed will give us this. So this is our second value. So now what do we do next? We set two sets of brackets, the other one bigger than the first one, like that. So to get the terms in this, we just check out these values. So this is 6m and that's n. And our second bracket always have 3 terms. So how do we get our 3 terms? So the first term, we square this first one. So 6 squared gives us 36. And our m squared gives us m squared. And the second term, we have to multiply the first value and the second value. So 6m multiplied by n gives us 6mn. And then lastly, we square the second value. So n squared gives us n squared. And now the signs that we put, there will be minus, plus, plus, like that. So let's move to 2 complex examples and let's see how we can solve them. Again, our first job is to first find the common factors. So there are no common factors. So the second step is to check which values are multiplying to give us these perfect cubes of ours. So 8, we get 8 from 2 being cubed. So 2 is our first value. And then we move. So this already it is cubed like that. So this is our second value, which is 3m minus n. So this is our second value. So now how do we factorize? 2 sets of brackets, the other one smaller than the other. And now what do we put inside? So in the first, we just put the first value and the second value. So this will be 2 and then 3m minus n. So if you're having a value that's inside the bracket, you might also want to put it inside the bracket like that. So what do we do to find the values in the second bracket? So the first, we square the first value. So we are going to square 2. So 2 squared gives us 4. And the second term, we multiply this value. So 2 multiplied by that. So 2 multiplied by that just gives us 2 3m minus n. And lastly, to get our last term, we are going to square that. So that's 3m minus n squared. And now to find the signs, this is just minus, plus, plus. And then we are done factorizing. So to factorize this, let's do the same thing. Any common factor, no common factor. And which values are we multiplying? So our first value, it is 2a plus b. So this is our first value. And our second value is 1. 1 being cubed gives us 1. So 1 is our second value. So now to factorize, we put two sets of brackets, the other one bigger than the other, right? So the values that we're going to put, so we put the first value and the second value. So this is 2a plus b and then 1. This, in the second bracket, the first value being squared. So that's 2a plus b squared. And the second value, we multiply this value. So 1 multiplied by that, it just gives us 2a plus b. And lastly, we square the second value. So this is 1 squared gives us 1 still. And we are just going to put minus, plus, plus, like that. So this is how you can factorize. I'll also leave you with a checkpoint to try on, right? Yes. So nextly, we're going to do the sum of two cubes. Meet me